Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unit of Technical Analysis. Would you believe that Venus also in the sky disappears just like Mary Stanton did in Tunnel Through the Air book? Well, sounds crazy, but this is what is been known to the world altogether. And we would like to also tell about this to you in the current chapter that is there. And we will be specifically more talking about Venus as such details and it reference to Tunnel Through the Air or looking back from 1940. So let's try to find out details one by one. So let's try to understand some basic things about Venus as such specifically, right? So Venus, first of all, is it's a planet which is very much nearer to Earth. That is the first thing. It is between Earth and Sun. That is the second thing. And if you see further, Venus can be seen in the complete dark sky. Venus orbits the Sun every 2247.7 Earth days, right? But rotates around its axis in 243 Earth days. So it takes more about time to rotate around its own axis than for a complete orbit around the Sun, right? So this is the first and basic, in fact, important fact about Venus, right? And second thing is, this means that the Sun rises from its western horizon. No, second thing is, consequently, it takes longer to rotate about its axis than any other planet in the solar system and does so in opposite direction to all but Uranus. So it goes in the opposite direction to the rotation which is there, right? This means that the Sun rises from its western horizon and sets in its east. This retrograde rotation creates a synodic day of only 117 Earth days. Venus does not have any moons. A distraction it shares only with Mercury along the planets in the solar system. So this is first and most basic thing that we are supposed to know about. From here, we'll go about more detailed things also, right? And we were talking about the disappearance as such. So let's go to the disappearance part also, right? Now there is a basic details we'll try to understand one by one. So I'll just probably try to zoom across this. Hope this is clear and visible to you. Seen from the Earth, Venus moves in a tricky fashion, appearing, disappearing, then reappearing first as a morning star, then as an evening star, right? So probably you know the terminologies like morning star, evening star, which we have seen in technical analysis. Here also for the Venus, especially it's morning star, evening star. Venus is a planet, of course, but observes in the past, persisting in some cases to the present, mistook it for an unusually bright star. So complicated is Venus' disappearing act that the ancient Greek miscomputed it as two different stars. The Mayans knew better and they recognized Venus is both the morning and evening skies as one and the same. If you were to watch the horizon at sunrise, you might first see Venus appear over the horizon just at daybreak. Each day, Venus would rise a little earlier, climb a little higher, and shine a little brighter before its light was drowned out by the sun. Then the pattern would reverse and Venus would rise a little later each day until finally it would fail to rise. So probably this is how the disappearance and reappearance cycles looks like. This rise and fall of Venus as a morning star takes 263 days. For the next 50 days, Venus disappears and cannot be seen in the sky at all. So for 50 days, Venus disappears, right? So let's see, continue further what happens. Then Venus reappears in the evening sky where it remains for another 263 days phase before disappearing below the horizon for 8 days. So before it was like 260 days, which is the morning star part, and after that it used to disappear for 50 days. And after that, it is to create a cycle which is there for 263 days. That is more of like an evening star. And again disappearing in the horizon for 8 days. At the end of this 8 days, Venus reappears as a morning star and the cycle begins again, right? So this is a cycle which is there for morning star and an evening star, right? Let's see further what things are there. The entire cycle, 263 as a morning star, 50 days absent, 263 days as an evening star, and finally 8 days absent, takes 584 days, an interval also known as synodic period of Venus, right? So this is something pretty important, pretty interesting rather to know altogether, right? It just so happens that the synodic period of Venus, 584 days, relates to the orbital period of Earth, that is 365 days. Now, how these two are being related, let's see. In a relative simple ratio of 5:8. So 5 times the synodic period of Venus, that is 5 into 584 days, is 2920 days, right? If we divide 2920 by the 365 days in our year, that is for 265 days, which is 1 year for Earth, you get 8, right? In short, the motion of Venus relative to our sun repeat almost exactly every 8 years. 8 years would have been a useful span of time to ancient sky watchers who relied heavily on natural cycles to mark time. There is a simple way to track the 8 year cycle. Like the sun, the position of Venus against the horizon appears to shift with the seasons. Venus shifts north in the summer and south in the winter, right? So this is again something important which you just need to understand. Exactly how far Venus shifts each year depends on where it is in the 8 year cycle. But the extreme points in the back and forth oscillations are known as the northern extremes and southern extreme of Venus. An observer will see Venus rise at each of these extreme points once every 8 years. Right? So this is basically what is there, and this is probably been taken from a website, Exploratorium, right? And these are the details which are there. This was the closest that I could get, especially focusing only on this part. So I've taken that, right? So yes, there is something else to that part, and probably we'll just see this also. Yes. So this is the orbit of Venus. This is the orbit there of Sun, and there are two conjunctions which are being called as. One is the inferior conjunction, when the Venus is between Earth and Sun, and second is the superior conjunction, when the Sun is between Earth and Venus, right? So that's how it is. Let's go to some further parts which are there. There is something more interesting which we need to do as especially. There is something called as 5 petals of Venus and its 8 year cycles, right? So this is something critical that we need to understand. How we need to understand that? It basically forms more like a 5 petal form, which is there, right? And probably not over here. And it has been formed during various years together. So let's try to just find out something more of in terms of a small video which is there. I've taken this video again from YouTube, right? So I'm just muting it across. We just need to see what exactly is there on that part. So I'll just show it across to you. So it is like, what happens is when the Earth and Venus come along in one alignment together with the Sun, right? So these are happening at 5 basic points. And if we join and align these 5 points basically together, this is more like a pentagon being formed, right? So let's try to see that how this has been formed. So this is probably the last projection. We'll try to see that one by one, how it has been formed, right? So this starts with probably the first one. Let's try to see how it is there, right? So this forms the first part when the Earth as well as Venus are there in one alignment with the Sun. So that point is the red point which is there. That is the first point. Let's go further, and probably we'll come to, yes, this is the second point which is there, right? So when both of them are together aligned with that part, so we join this point and this point together, and this is an alignment especially, right? So let's try to see something further. Again, the next, yes, so again this is a point which we get probably where they are again in alignment as such. So that is the third point which we get, and we'll go for the fourth point also. Yes, so this is the fourth point where we see that they are again coming in alignment as such, and this probably takes around 5 years, 8 years for Earth, So this is the fifth point. So this is how the 5 points together have been formed. We just saw that with the help of the video, how things have been happening gradually, overall, one by one. So this cycle happens over a period of time, again and again and again, right? So this is how it is, and this is what we wanted to show, especially from the 5 petals of Venus, right, which happens over a period of 8 years. And we saw the ancient 8 years periods, which is there, the cycle which is there, how that has been formed for the 8-year cycle together, right? So this is only one part which is just wanted to understand as such, and this is especially about Venus. Let's now go to something which is again we think is important, and we need to understand that, right? So for that, probably we need to go to one more book. And yes, go to that book also, right? So this is book related to W. Gann, and what is law of vibration? Let me see that if the book is there outside itself. Yes, law of vibration. Now, basically in the book, law of vibration, we studied certain parts which are there. And W.D. Gann, in one of his details, he especially mentioned that he did study few of the things which are there, and his starting points were something very comfortable, right? And he told that, okay, use geometry and mathematics more of, that is the first thing. And second thing, very important, that he told is Gann told his interviewer that he had discovered the law of vibration through the way in which numbers and letters were written. Now it is through the way in which numbers and letters were been written. So last time we saw how numbers were been written in terms of angles, right? And letters were been written in a specific format, which is that there is one more details in which numbers as well as letters are been written. Let's try to understand that and find out what exactly this is. See, because we are trying to find an interpretation between law of vibration tunnel through the air. Wherever we find certain details which are there together coming into those parts, we'll probably like to project that, highlight that. So let's try to find that also. And yes, so this is pertaining to Pythagoras, and this is how Pythagorean numerology worked. Now, I would like to say I don't believe in numerology as first. I am not promoting something like numerology or astrology as such, especially. But this is just the history part. We are just trying to interpret the book, things which are there from books, right? Like the famous scientist who was there, Pythagoras, his interpretations were that, like, first of all, the numbers were there, one to right, and the alphabets are also been written in that form. So here he had a conversion of the alphabets into numbers, right? So let's say, for example, if any word is there, let's say, for example, we take few words which are there from the book. So this is the book, which is, let's say, for example, a weird word that we saw is through, right? So if we consider through overall year, so it comes to, see, T is, where is my T? So T is 2. So I take down 2 plus H. So H is 8. 2 plus 8 is 10. R. So where is R? R is 9. So 10 plus 9 is 19. And we have U. U comes to 3. So 2 plus 8 is 10. 10 plus 9 is 19. 19 plus 3 is 22. Right? So what is this 22 comes down to, right? Now, if we again try to see out something which is very specific, is these are all parts of something called as master numbers, right? 11, 22, 33. These are all master numbers. So you'll be finding various books pertaining to those things, right? But yes, this is what we are seeing in terms of the interpretation, which is there first coming from law of vibration. So W.D. Gann talked about numbers and letters, how they have been written. So we again took the same interpretation in terms of the Pythagorean method, right, which is there. And we came to know the interpretation of that. We just tried to find few of the interpretations which is there. And we come to know about the importance of master numbers. So probably Gann tried to find out and understand master numbers. So what is the significance of master numbers? Probably let's try to see it in his book. This is law of vibration. We need to see tunnel through there. Now, for example, let's say we take down the start of the book and we see that, okay, uh, the hero of the book, which is there, Robert, he was born on June 9th, 1906. Now, 1906 onwards, and the war started somewhere around in 1928. So from 1906 to 1928, it is somewhere around again 22 years, right? So if you calculate that, that comes to 22 years, right? So again, something in terms of factors which are there related, which comes to the same part, which is, let's say, like 22, right? So we had the master numbers, which is 11, 22, 33, right? And something again has been interpreted in the same way, right? Let's try to see something which is further again. See, if you see all the things which are there together, I'll probably just try to make it smaller. Yes. So these are all the chapters, and you see that the pages are almost looking very much similar, probably with the same kind of contents. But if you see on some specific pages which are there, you see some pages which are very small in terms of contents, which should not be there. Probably you can have bigger contents also, right? So this is page number 17, right? If you see the words which are there, yes, probably they are only few. And if you have this in terms of Pythagorean method, so it comes down to 1113, right? So probably you can just do a homework of all these things. But again, if you see, those numbers are coming to 1113, right? So we try to analyze these things, talk to a number of people together, what exactly this is, how it is there. Whenever we had discussions with our group, which is there of WD Gann. So we had a discussion and it was like, okay, this is again a master number. So it is 111. And if you multiply it by 3, probably you get something on that part. So it comes down to 333. So what we did is we tried to go to page number 333 and try to analyze what is there, which has been written over there, which is probably important. So before that, let's try to understand what was there on page number 17. So probably if we have some link related to that, and we can relate that things to things over there, if it is there, right? So I am going on page number 17. So 17, what is there? Days and hours reading the Bible and talking to his mother and asking her questions about it and its meaning. He had a great desire to travel and see the world and was always planning to visit strange places. While he showed great affection for his mother, his desire was to get away and see the world. So he wanted to visit the world. Probably this is what has been written. And he had a great affinity for one is his mother. And he read a lot and lot, that is day and night reading the Bible. So these 3 important things have been given. Probably let's try to see and analyze if something is there on page number 333. Let's quickly try to go on those pages. So this we are coming to page number 333. Yes, page number 333, right? So if we read across through that, yes, noiseless visible planes so that we can pass through air without being interfered with or harmed and without being seen or heard. Our victory is assured. So to make a tunnel through the air is not at all impossible. It is just as easy as to put a tunnel under the earth or drive a submarine under the water. While the air is invisible, it is one of the strongest forces that we have. If the water can be separated or a submarine can push it each way and travel under it, if dirt can be removed and a man put a tunnel under a river or a mountain, you can find a way to put a tunnel through the air. So others cannot see us, hear or enter unless we desire. One of my first plans will be to put a tunnel through the air. With a tunnel through the air, from New York City to London and Germany, our planes may safely pass through without being seen or heard, and the enemy will be unable to attack them, places us in position to leave the tunnel at any time and return to it for safety. We need a tunnel through the air from the Great Lakes to New Orleans and the Gulf of Mexico so that our planes may pass safely through this tunnel. Take observations of the enemy's position without being seen or heard. And when necessary, leave this tunnel, attack the enemy, return to the tunnel again for protection. We can also have a tunnel through the air so that when the enemy planes enter this tunnel and do not understand it, they will be unable to get out of it, and we may keep them there in prison as long as we wish. Capture or destroy them. Right? So is again talking about tunnel through the air, tunnel through the air, tunnel through the air. I mean, like if you count that, probably one, then you have two, then probably you have the third time which is there, fourth time which is there, fifth time which is there, right? So sixth time, then probably six times which is there, which he has specially written over here. Probably yes, something again, which is that is the first part that we can understand. He is talking about various places, because on page number 17 he was talking about travel, second is the Bible, and third is about his mother. So we don't see his mother coming here anywhere on this picture, this page. Beg your pardon for that. Second is Bible. Again, Bible has not been discussed. Yes, tunnel through the air, that is the first thing that we see over here. And apart from that, you see various places, New York, London, Germany. So I was talking about traveling over here, and we see various places to travel. This is probably all other countries, other places, other cities, right? And apart from that, you see Gulf of Mexico, New Orleans, Great Lakes, which is there. Again, all the places which are there in America itself, right? So something which is there, exploring places within America, exploring places out of the world. Yep. So this has been coming over here together. So again, we have an interpretation which is based on those things together, right? And maybe in coming chapters, we'll try to understand how we are able to relate those things together in terms of what is there for Venus, as well as what is there for this master numbers, which we see, or maybe the Pythagorean theory that we just try to interpret over here one by one, right? So two basic things that we saw over here is, one is about Venus, talking about the Venus cycle, which is there, how it happens, how it disappears from the sky, just like we saw Mary Stanton being disappearing from the story, that is tunnel through the air, and reappearing again. So probably it was twice which happened, and we need to check out with the dates if it's aligning with that together or something to do with the cycle of Venus as such specifically. And second thing is, we saw W.D. Gann's W.D. Gann on law of vibration. And in law of vibration, there are certain things which have been given, like how did he identify about the mathematics which has been involved through numbers as well as alphabets. And we saw that in Pythagorean method, which is there is something related between the numbers as well as alphabets. So if we try to interpret that, we have certain interpretations which are there, but slowly and gradually, let's try to get into the details. And we saw this one by one, and probably in the next chapter, next part, we'll try to cover more of in detail one by one. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care.